industry in the United States. Nobody's going to get around that.
Regardless of anything, we're going to be friends with Canada. Canada is a very special place to me. I know so many people that live in Canada. My parents had relatives that lived in Canada, my mother in particular.
In June 2025, President Trump ignited a firestorm in global trade by detonating a tariff bomb. Steel and aluminum duties were doubled to a stunning 50%. It was a bold unilateral move under Section 232, justified on national security grounds.
A 25% increase. We're going to bring it from 25% to 50%, the tariffs on steel into the United States of America, which will even further secure.
But the real shock? Canada didn't flinch. Instead, it retaliated with strategic precision. Ottawa launched a calculated and multi-layered counteroffensive, turning tariffs into triggers for reshoring, procurement overhaul, and policy innovation. Now, with the clock ticking toward a high-stakes July 21st trade deadline, tensions are surging in factories, freight corridors, and boardrooms across the continent. Turbocharged tensions, the trade war ignition point. It all started in early June 2025, when the Trump administration pulled the pin on a tariff grenade, doubling duties on steel and aluminum imports under the National Security Clause of Section 232. The move wasn't aimed at traditional adversaries like China or Russia. Instead, it caught USMCA allies Canada and Mexico in the crossfire. The fallout was immediate. Markets jolted like a misfiring engine. Commodities spiked, and the US dollar surged over 1%. Manufacturers across the US Midwest and Canada's industrial belt were forced to scramble, recalculating costs, reworking logistics, and even rewriting supplier contracts. But Canada wasn't blindsided. It had already imposed 25% retaliatory tariffs earlier in March. $12.6 billion Canadian on steel, $3 billion on aluminum. Still, Trump's June 4th escalation shifted the landscape. At the G7 summit in Kananaskis, Prime Minister Mark Carney and President Trump set a tight window. Reach progress by July 21st or brace for deeper rupture. The result? A turbocharged timeline to redraw the trade routes that fuel industries from Alberta's agri-machinery to Quebec's aerospace. Advanced material tracking using chemical forensics and traceability systems ensures no backdoor dumping. Canada has built a policy drivetrain. Tariffs, sourcing mandates, import limits, and forensic enforcement, all synchronized. OEMs and suppliers are now redrawing their procurement maps in real time. Before we dive deeper, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. This trade war's just getting started. Fueling the future, financing the reshoring shift. Meanwhile, Canada's Build Canada Fund now mandates that steel and aluminum used in public projects come from domestic or FTA-approved sources. These are not temporary bailouts. They're long-term investments designed to turn a short-term tariff clash into an industrial transformation strategy, one that builds resilience across Canada's core sectors. Canada's firm stance didn't just shake up North America. It sent tremors through global trade alliances. In Brussels, EU leaders fast-tracked green steel subsidies and began coordinating sovereign supply chain defenses. Japan's METI pledged emergency aluminum shipments to Canada. Germany's Steel Federation praised Ottawa's fast-footedness and urged the EU to respond in kind. It's not just retaliation, it's realignment. A growing coalition of nations is redefining economic security, recognizing industrial capacity as a core pillar of sovereignty. Meanwhile, the U.S. response has been mixed. Trade reps have criticized Canada's moves as unnecessary, while industry groups in Michigan and Texas warn of disruptions to the auto and aerospace ecosystems. Tariff tremors, inflation, politics, and the final countdown. With the deadline closing in, the pressure is mounting. Steel premiums out of Cleveland are soaring, driven by uncertainty. The Bank of Canada has warned of a potential 75% pass-through inflation rate from sustained tariffs. The BSE is weighing counteractions, and central banks globally, including the Bank of England, are flagging trade-driven inflation as a new macroeconomic frontier. Politically, Carney is under fire at home. Opposition leaders demand faster retaliation, but Carney insists on a synchronized approach with allies like the EU and Japan to maintain strategic cohesion. Meanwhile, Trump is dangling possible carve-outs, but nothing's official until new import lists drop. As of June 26th, Canada's trade policy has crossed a threshold from reaction to doctrine. Dubbed the Steel Firewall, Canada's approach, auto-scaling tariffs, sourcing rules, industrial financing, and advanced traceability, isn't just about the U.S. It's about embedding sovereignty into national supply chains. It's bold, and other nations are watching. So what lies ahead? A return to North American integration? Or the beginning of a metallic Cold War? Steel and aluminum now sit at the intersection of diplomacy, inflation, national security, and identity.
If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more updates and content. We've got plenty more coming your way.